All right there, sweetheart. So tell me, do you want to know the shortcut from going from burnout to burning bright? Now stay till the end, because in this short video, I'm going to share with you one personalized test matched with the 80-20 principle and how you can collapse years of frustration. And that will basically allow you to instantly reignite your passion. I'm not kidding. Look, I get it. Positivity porn and one-trick ponies and more productivity courses make you, well, want to absolutely puke. I totally get it, because I've been there and I've done plenty of it. And I absolutely know firsthand, as a serial entrepreneurial, building takes a lot of effort, but it doesn't have to burn you out. And so often it does. And if you have a bright mind, and on top of that ADHD, which I referenced to attention dialed into a higher dimension, it can feel like you're already live in a constant state of burnout. It's basically a way of life. And this is due to all of the ideas constantly coming in and out of your brain, and living with energetic sensitivities and just being a highly, highly attuned empath. Now, we can move forward, or we can self-sabotage and we can quit. And what I've learned as a hypnotherapist is that quitting or living a lie in not meeting your potential will literally make you sick. And science shows now that living with not following our truth or our creative purpose, that it lowers our immune function and it spikes cortisol and it increases other stress hormones. And stress induces cortisol, which stores fat, impacts our sleep. But how do we fix it? And I suggest that you stop doing what you're supposed to do, my friends. And you can accomplish way more than you ever thought was possible when you create a shortcut to knowing what you're great at and what you love. In essence, this is called following your flow. And perhaps more importantly, what not to do that's keeping you out of your flow. Now, you may have heard of the Pareto principle, which is basically, it states that 80% of the consequences come from 20% of your causes. Or when it comes to productivity, 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. And the problem for most individuals is knowing what that 20% is. Now, my name's Cassandra, and I truly help highly driven, easily distracted women burn brightly and lead boldly without burning out, by finding what I call the path of least resistance and greatest reward, by working with their strengths rather against their weaknesses. And the reason why this is so critically important to me is because I nearly lost my life being in overdrive for far, far too long. And as I've learned late life about my own personal ADHD, everything made sense. I started to see the same type of brilliant women and successful women, quite frankly, burning the fire at both ends, just as I did, overworking and, quite frankly, underachieving. Now, let's just say that the input in their bank account didn't mirror the extreme output of the work. And when this happens, there's a high probability you become resentful. And worse, the ladder you climbed is likely due to living up to somebody else's expectations, or perhaps you've been guru'd. It took me nearly losing my life to figure out that the real path, my friends, is first to stop fixing yourself. And two, focus on your strengths versus trying to up-level things that you're just not naturally good at. Let it be set aside versus draining you. And when I committed to my genius energetic blueprint, the same blueprint I'm going to share that you can have absolute access to, it decreased my overwhelm as a solo entrepreneur and exponentially increased my momentum, my passion, and yes, my friends, my results and bank account. So this clarity also relates to what I'm not meant to be doing and what I was designed to do and what I was not designed to do. We are all unique. So going back to the Pareto principle, it's important to really focus on 80% of your time in your genius zone, or what many may call your superpower. Now, mind you, I didn't say that ADHD is my superpower. I'm very cautious using that term because when you have ADHD, you know that it's a serious genetic biological disorder that truly affects the quality of your life if it's not consciously managed. And in fact, 1 in 4 women that have ADHD will attempt to commit suicide versus the 1 in 32 women that are neurotypical. And this increase is due to the 50 to 80% increase of coexisting symptoms like anxiety, depression, generally declined health from emotional, biological stress, eating disorders. Now, you may even be thinking to yourself, well, I'm not diagnosed with ADHD, but I sure the hell feel like I have ADHD. Well, that's interesting. And if you're a change maker and if you're a wayfinder, entrepreneur, you may be. Get this, studies have found that if you're an entrepreneur, there is a 300% increase of having ADHD. Considering there are 4 times more adult women also being diagnosed with ADHD than children today, we are facing a war on our executive function, meaning organizing, planning, emotional regulation, and just completing what you started. Tell me if you can relate. So let's go ahead and tap back into that superpower of yours. Now, it is the thing that you've been doing ever since you were oftentimes a child, and it just feels completely natural to you. And for me, I like to say my gift is really seeing and hearing what somebody is not saying, but translating that essence into form or into reality, which basically is taking 5D energy and bringing it into a 3D reality. So most individuals struggle with self-sabotage and not truly finding their genius due to a lifetime of programming and fitting into all of these societal norms, right? But here's the incredible news. And my friends, yes, there really is an easy button, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down for you the single most powerful path and opportunity for understanding entrepreneurship and building wealth. In fact, it was while searching for my own answers that I came across this absolutely brilliant system. Now, only did the system help me, not only did it help me understand myself, it really helped me get into my energetic flow and the specific path for me to building wealth by connecting to my value and understanding how to commit to it. And I was absolutely blown away by this and knew that this is exactly what my like-minded, high-achieving, fast thinking, and yes, ADHD friends needed. And I don't have the time to waste, my friends. It's connected me to my intra-based nervous system, which basically means it removed the guilt of not wanting to do the things that I'm really, really not interested in, and expedited me to find that right team to allow me to excel in not only my wealth, but creating more time in my life. So I became a licensed consultant, and I now teach others the value of having an intuitive system to really help them work smarter and not harder. And it's called wealth dynamics. So why does wealth dynamics work so well? Well, first, it's a psychiatric test that is originated from Carl Jung's work on archetypes. And wealth dynamics is very different in that it provides an intuitive structure, practical strategy, and modern role models, and align back to the roots of the I-ching, which was started 5 years ago. Lips are dry. And it's tailored specifically to entrepreneurs. Now, it doesn't put you in a box, and it highlights a clear path specifically for you with mentors and role models for you to easily follow. And it's also synchronized to time. And in the fast changing, turbulent times that we're in, it's just one personality test that will show you your strengths linked to the cycles of time. And it's very intuitive. It's really easy to follow. And when you finally get a hold of your personality profile and or your energetic zone of genius, it links to how you can create value and really leverage it. And it's easy to understand and then apply to others or your support team or your family. And it's also linked to your natural flow. Now, you can use the playbook immediately and directly direct it to your flow. And lastly, it's linked to the entrepreneurial spirit, which if we look at the I-ching and the 5 Chinese elements, this is key. And it links to the 5th element, which is your spirit. This is your purpose. It's your meaning of linking you to your why. And lastly, and more importantly, it shares that there are 8 specific ways to achieve wealth. But the key here is that there is only specifically one meant for you. Talk about a relief, cognitive overload shutting down. And another bonus is that flow allows you to get into flow, which brings you more resources. So let's talk about what can pull you out of flow. So for me, I fall out of flow when I'm constantly in FOMO. I'm chasing the next tactic or self-development thing or guru, remembering that all these layers really need a solid foundation, my friends. So you want to identify what you call your kryptonite, where your no-go zones are, and the 80% of things that you could be doing that you probably shouldn't be doing. And this is important because it's not going to lead to productivity. It's not going to lead to success, fulfillment, wealth, or the impact that you want to leave. So these activities feel like they're a constant struggle. They drain your energy and make you frustrated and probably maybe even a little bit bitter at the end of the day. And the one important thing to think about here is oftentimes people can mistake their zone of genius for their zone of competence, right? So what I mean by that is that you have gotten really, really, really good at some things in your career, on your path, and it's not your zone of genius. It's your superpower. It's not your superpower, but an area that you've just acquired over time, that you've been forced to do, that you've gotten really good at. So this is not your superpower, my friend. And, you know, I'm really good at action taking. And not just starting things, but I've also gotten really good at doing different things and completing things over time. So I can really make almost anything happen, right? By willpower. However, when I'm in the weeds in a project management and I'm stuck in tech hell and managing different projects and people, I get scattered and I get really, really, really weighed down energetically. And I'm not keen at being interrupted and getting out of my genius zone or my higher frequency and creating, expressing my value that I want to bring into my clients. Now, I could have easily mistaken that zone of competence that I've developed over time, because the zone of competence really is something that I've been recognized, like acknowledged for my entire life with all these different businesses that I've started. So be careful that you're not focusing on that zone of competence. Also, your zone of competence isn't really something that you want to avoid either, because you certainly, it's not that the 20% that drives the 80% really should be the majority of your time. It's really starting to focus on where is your energy and where can you build these small bricks and what you've been able to do with your zone of competence, and how can you kind of move into that 80% where you're in your zone of genius. So it really makes sense that as a creator, my gift is translating essence into reality. My profile is creator and a star profile. So I'm always expressing new insights, creating new products. I love shining a light on others. But the things that are kryptonite for me, and this is super, super common for a lot of creator profiles, is managing people. It's very common to have super high expectations, but also be very good at creating more things and expecting them to do more. And I expect that everybody is good at creating new concepts and ideas as I am, but they're not. So even if you look at our friend Steve Jobs, now he was a famous creator, but he needed somebody else to manage all the people and things because he has such high standards of his creations. And I'm also no good in long meetings. They drive me batshit crazy because I feel like I could absolutely be spending my time creating something or making money. Also, anything related to spreadsheets, managing numbers, and profit and loss statements, friends, I would absolutely much rather hire it out and make more money to hire someone to manage it for me. I truly believe working and creating a living out of inspiration and really not being in a world of obligation. So it's really important to then take that profile and really lay it over your schedule and really start to work towards what inspires you versus out of what you're obligated to do. And this is what I did for so many years of my life. And following the path that other gurus lay down for me or you, and letting that go is the most liberated feeling when you step into your zone of genius and into that productive zone that feels good, that feels nourishing. And nobody really wants to bring their trauma into their business. So this is really the path out. So to sum up today's introduction to follow and that opening up that power of this wealth dynamics profile and taking your wealth dynamics profile test is the very first step to gaining a far deeper understanding about your strengths so that you can achieve far, far greater results without needing to work harder. You are smart, my friend. And I truly believe this test is so, so beneficial for ADHD entrepreneurs and service providers because we are led by our energetic nervous system. We follow what we're passionate about. So within the wealth dynamic system, each of us has a very specific mix of frequencies that brings us to the combination and to the wholeness of who we are. And these four energies are dynamo, blaze, tempo, and steel. And so it is the percentage of these energies that will dictate which of the 8 archetypes we most relate to. And so there is no one archetype that is most successful. It's really about understanding what your path of least resistance to success is, and then sticking to it and following it. So I'll see you on the next video. And there I'm going to dive into the wealth dynamic system. And I'm going to relate to how the quickest and easiest way to getting flow is for you. And it really is so, so easy and so transformative. And so I'm going to leave you with the question of, what's the memory that you feel that you can recall back in your childhood of your genius, your state of flow, my friend? And when you tap into this, what is one small task that you can step into today to start to measure that and step into that genius zone? And I want you to remember that I know it can feel overwhelming, but true transformation really is by taking those small steps rather than those big quantum leaps that everybody leads you to. So pay attention to those small signs and symptoms of your natural flow state, and don't underestimate the power of the 1 degree turn. And so with that said, I will see you on the next video, and we're going to start to break down what are those 4 main frequencies, and then start to think about, how can you start to apply those? What do you think you are? And then how you can get the test to follow your flow and take the path of least resistance. So I hope that helped you today. As always, shine bright, my friends, with all of my love and all of my light. We'll see you on the next video.